Hi, everyone. Today we have some Fed comments to go over. The CBOE has some announcements and changes to SPY and the QQQ. Of course, we have some charts to go over, and then we'll finish up with my results for the day. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. Starting off with the Fed comments, stocks were mixed on Monday. They were up a little bit and then down quite a bit towards the end of the day. And the Fed was out there warning, of course, we have a ways to go until the rate hikes end, but they did mention the fact that 50 basis points is on the table for December, which I think is the consensus at this point. I think they're going to slow down in December, which should slow down the plummeting that the market has been doing previous to this. It's worth mentioning that the strong dollar caused by these high interest rates has been a headwind for major companies and the U.S. economy that has international relations. And if the dollar does start to cool off with slowing down interest rates, that should be good for stocks and good for earnings across the markets. Moving over to the CBOE announcement, they are finally doing daily options here on the SPY and the QQQ. They mention IWM here, but they leave it out of this next sentence where it says Tuesday options start on the 14th and Thursday options start on the 16th, but it only says SPY and QQQ here. And then it doesn't really mention the IWM later on, so SPY and QQQ, and same here. There's nothing towards the end of this that goes blank, so waiting to see what they do with the IWM. Hopefully they do the same thing, but for right now, SPY and QQQ will have daily options starting this week. Moving over to the SPY, on the hourly chart, you can see very weak. You have a double top formation looking here, broke well below those major indices. Momentum is picking up to the downside once again. Should expect support somewhere in this previous top range, 385 or so. That's where I would be looking. But there's a clear shot to the downside here at this point. And in my opinion, that's pretty easy to see considering the huge rallies we had. We were just super extended. And if we come down to here and we bounce off of that and go higher, which is certainly possible, I would expect that retrace to come over the next few days. Similar story here on the NASDAQ. That support is at 272 on the NASDAQ, but there's certainly potential that you could find it a little sooner, 275 to 277. Looking at the 5-minute chart here, you can see this does look very sick. Had a little dip. I thought we would kind of pause here in the midday. 287 I thought would hold. Got the rejection here, and then we pushed right through that, all the way back up to a slightly higher high at 289. Potential for support here, and then a continuation. But we pushed all the way through that and came down to 285 once again, and then bounced here in the after hours. During the trading here, I did put on some calls up here. Like I mentioned, I thought we'll end up closing those for a slight loser. Sold a 289 call when it was up here. Took that for a profit, and then it came down here once again. As it came down here, I sold 289 call. Sat through this and then waited for that sell-off one more time. And took profits on both of those calls. But of course, I did have some puts going into the day. And I'm starting to use those daily options to try to get more iterations on these options. So I do have some puts down here at 285 and then again here at 283 for tomorrow. So there's certainly potential we could get into there. And if we get a rally into the midday where I can close those for a small profit, I will likely do that. And it seems like that's possible considering how oversold we got here on the 5-minute chart. Moving over to the IWM, not as strong as a sell-off here. Certainly potential that this could pause at 183 or at support here at 182.50. But of course, it's not immune to market forces, and it did sell off along with the rest of the major indices. I do want to talk AMD here just a little bit. The stock did rally up and close higher than it did on Friday. Closed at 73.75 as opposed to 73.23. So still a green day here today. And it was going to be better until everything started selling off here in the last 2 hours. Now it looks a little bit weak here. We got the cross on the MACD, increasing momentum to the downside, and the RSI is declining here. And you could certainly argue you have divergence here on the RSI. We had that lower high here and a higher high here, but weaker RSI during that period. So you should expect some downward movement here in AMD, but still looking stronger than the major indices. For top gainers, we have CHWY. On the hourly chart, you can see this increase has continued. Did decline here in the last hour, but closed at $41 on Friday and got all the way up to $44 today. So almost a 10% rally, and then we came down a little bit here in the after hours. But CHWY, on a huge rally, continues to break out. And in my opinion, you should expect this stock to get up to about $46.50, which would be in line with this previous trend we had here. Moving over to XOP, I did want to bring this one back up because I did mention it on Friday. We had divergence from Monday to Friday last week, and that trend continued. The stock rallied slightly here today and then moved down and closed lower today. Moving over to the 1-hour chart, you can see we had the top here on Friday, and then we touched that top one more time here on Monday, and then we sold off from there. Did sell a call in here and held that just for a little bit, making a small profit on XOP today. And realistically, this is probably going to go lower, and I wouldn't expect to turn around until we get into that 150 range. Moving over to DXY, didn't really do a whole lot today. Usually when the market sells off, we have the dollar rallying, and it did cool off a little bit. We had that big move down, which has been falling all the way since the 3rd of November. So it's been falling for about 2 weeks at this point. But today we went pretty much sideways, and we actually did start to pick up a little bit of momentum here on the MACD. You can see we got some stronger green bars here at the end of the day, and you should expect this to rally if stocks continue downwards. If this is still showing strength tomorrow, I would expect stocks to accelerate to the downside. Moving over to JNK, absolutely not what you want to see. We got a gap down today and then moved lower and then went sideways for most of the day and then sold off strongly towards the end of the day. Again, not good for growth. So you got JNK selling off and the NASDAQ selling off strongly towards the end of the day, and you can certainly expect this to continue tomorrow in my opinion. Moving over to TLT, not showing quite the same weakness. We did gap down, but we rallied up and filled that gap, touched those lows, and then rallied here towards the end of the day. So that might mean that this little dip that we're having isn't really going to hold. Of course, we would like to see JNK move up a little bit as well, but it's nice to see that treasuries, at least on TLT, are moving up slightly, and that certainly should be good for stocks. It's worth noting here that you do have the highs from October, and this certainly could be a retest of that level. If we get a sell-off from that level tomorrow, then we should be expecting prices to come down to around 93.20 from there. So keep an eye on this level tomorrow. If this does break down from there, certainly some downside potential in TLT. Finishing up with the VIX like we always do on the daily chart. You can see we gapped up. We threw a pin to the downside at that line that we've been talking about. And now it seems like we're ready to rally from here. I think this is probably going to go back into this 27, 28 range, which would be the same highs as here. So if we get a nice little rally in the VIX, you could certainly trade the VIX to the upside on VIX futures, or you can be short the markets. Generally, as the VIX is rising, you're going to see more volatility, which means downward price action in the markets. So be aware that the VIX is certainly looking for this retracement of this move that it had from mid-October to the mid of November. So going over my trades for today, let's go to activity. I had a bunch of trades. You can see that XOP short I had. Sold it for $1.40, bought it back for 97 cents. So small profits in there. Sold some calls. You can see that 287 call I had here. Sold it for 108, bought it back for 202. So that was a bit of a loser. And then I sold the 289s immediately after for 66 cents, as well as the 288s for 55 cents, both of which ended up being worthless at close. You can also see I closed that IWM that I had from Friday, sold that for 87 cents, bought it back for 69 cents. So small winner there. And then you can see a couple of short puts that I sold as well. So 34 cents here, bought it back for 19. We had the 284s that I had from Friday, bought those back for 5 cents. So quite a few winners in terms of day trades. The ones where I had some losers were the puts for tomorrow. So you can see minus $30 here, minus 79 at 285, and then minus 79 here at 283. So I'm trying to average down. I expect the markets to go down. I'll probably sell some calls at least for the day tomorrow, maybe the next day as well. But in terms of positions, this is what I have. I have one short put here on AMD in my IRA. Small profit, probably should have taken it off, but I didn't. And then I have a couple of short puts going into tomorrow. My one that's at the most risk here is 285. Sold that for 92 cents. So this is basically a 284 to buy the stock at that price. And then 283, about 1% lower for 65 cents. So more like 282.50. If I get assigned on either of those, I'll be selling calls immediately against them. And I'll probably be looking to sell some calls in the midday if we get a rally and close all of these up if I can buy them back for a profit. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the Fed comments. And are you excited about the daily options from the CBOE? Do you think the markets are going to continue downwards, or is this just a short-term retracement into new higher highs? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.